holding you back? Holding you back from touching the sky? What's holding you back? You gotta fly like an eagle and go high. What's holding you back? Holding you back from touching the sky? Oh, holding you back. You finally gotta reach for the sky. I was born to succeed, not to be a spoke in the wheel. Told myself there's more to this than just waking up when I feel. So I made a commitment to turn my earnings up. Couldn't see myself as an employee that still couldn't. Looked in the mirror, saw a spark in my eye. Knew I had to hustle and stop living a lie. I packed my dreams in a suitcase, took the first train out, headed for the horizon where success is no doubt. What's holding you back? Holding you back from touching the sky? What's holding you back? You gotta fly like an eagle and go high. What's holding you back? Holding you back from touching the sky? Oh, holding you back. You finally gotta reach for the sky.
Greetings and welcome to another edition of What's Holding You Back. My name is Rob McCray from the Business Building Network, and we are awaiting my wonderful co-host Christine Allen from Clear Ambitions. But nevertheless, we are going to get started and have our discussion, our empowerment meeting for this afternoon, this evening, this morning, depending on where in the world you are watching us from. So sit back, relax, pull up a seat, and let us have a wonderful time as we have a discussion today. So today we're going to be discussing, we're going to have more of a character assessment discussion today, as we're going to be talking about where do you draw the line. So that's going to be our topic of discussion for today. So as you are tuning in, please leave a comment in the chat. We would love to greet you and welcome you to another edition of What's Holding You Back. So we just want to go over last week's discussion, which was very intriguing and a very interactive discussion in which we had last week, as we spoke about are you proactive or are you one that is reactive? Are you responding to what's going on around you, or are you getting ahead of the curve and preparing for what is to come by being more proactive? So if you missed that discussion, I encourage you to go back to both of our YouTube channels. Christine's YouTube channel is Clear Ambitions, and my YouTube channel is Rob McCray Networking, and see that discussion for yourself. We had a wonderful time and a very good conversation with a lot of our guests that were interacting with us. So we're just carry on with the program for this afternoon. As I've mentioned before, our topic of discussion is going to be, where do you draw the line? And there's going to be a lot of subtopics associated with that, depending on what category you want to really dive into. But before we get into that, I just want to share what this program is all about, this What's Holding You Back. Why are we doing these broadcasts each and every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time? And the reason in which we are doing so is we want you to be empowered. We want you to be encouraged. We want you to be inspired to be the best possible version of yourself. And for those of you that seek to have a business for yourself or have already started a business for yourself, we also do some live trainings that you have seen previously. And we're going to be sharing information, giving you different tips and strategies to help you enhance your business and take it to that next level. So please, by all means, invite a friend, tell them about the broadcast and what we're doing over here, and we would love to have that interaction with you. So as we are jumping on, let us give greetings to a few of our guests that are with us this afternoon. I want to extend greetings to my beautiful wife, Sister Althea, as she has joined us. Blessings, so good to have you with us. And oh wow, Bishop Noel Brown, God bless you, sir. Always a great pleasure to have you with us as well. Thank you so much. And my sister Joan from, okay, it says Aken Healthcare, but it is also from caregivers, referral services out of Toronto, Ontario. So God bless you, my sis. And so good to have you with us this afternoon. Oh, who do we have here? My guy, Mr. Derek Battle. Oh, bless you, brother. Good to see you, man. Long time, long time. Good to see you. Yes, yes, yes. So, yes, as you're jumping on board, please leave us a comment. I would love to acknowledge you and welcome you to the broadcast. So good to see you all this afternoon. So, as we always start off the broadcast, we always like to share an inspirational word. So, we're going to pull that up and then we're going to have our discussion soon after. So, our inspirational word or inspirational quote, as I should say, is coming from none other than Abraham Lincoln. And it says, nearly all men can stand adversity, but if you want to test a man's character, give him power. Woo. And yes, that is a very powerful, powerful statement right there. So, yes, when someone has power and authority and money, you will truly see their true character will come out, and they will show you who they truly are once they get into that position of authority and they have a little money in their pocket. And then you will truly see what they're all about. And it makes me think about coming up, and as we go through life, from our childhood days, and then we come into adults. And then as we see our friends and family members grow and establish themselves, and then you see people start to change in the way they treat others because they get a little title behind their name, or they come into a position of authority, and then they feel like they're better or superior than other people. And then that's a testament of what their true character is. So that's why we're going to have this discussion today and have a real character assessment of where is it that you draw the line. Brother Dave Collymore, blessings, my brother. So good to see you. Yes, yes. Long time, my brother. Always a pleasure. All right. So, yes, we're going to get into our discussion for today. So, let me get into it. Let me just share that on the screen. And our discussion is going to be, where do you draw the line? So, when we talk about where do you draw the line, you can be talking about many different variations of things. So let's put a couple of different subtopics into this discussion. And I would love for you to share your feedback in the chat. And if you come up with something else where you want to state where you are drawing the line on certain things that you don't want to be a part of your life or in your environment, then please, by all means, put that into the chat as well. So, when we talk about where you draw the line, what can drive you to a place in which you come out of your true character? And how do you avoid being taken into that point? So, when we talk about character, so what is the true definition of character? Well, character is defined as the mental and moral qualities distinctive to an individual. So we all have some similar character traits, but in the same regards, we also have many different character traits. So no one's character is the same as another. We all have some similarities, but we also have some differences. So each one is very different in how they interact with others. And your character, your integrity, the way you conduct and carry yourself, is a true testament to the true person in which you are. So when we talk about where do you draw the line, when it comes to your personal relationships, what are some things that you're going to draw the line and say that, no, I'm not going to tolerate that in this or any relationship that I'm involved with? So let's talk about when it comes to your kids and family members. What are some things you're going to draw the line when it comes to those individuals, right? And when we're talking about being in your workspace, what are some things you're going to draw the line when it comes to your co-employees or your superiors in the workspace? There always has to be a line that's, no, we're not going to allow that. We're not going to tolerate that because you're infringing on my beliefs and what my standards are, what my moral values are. So anytime someone crosses that line, then you have to put a stop, a cease and desist on that. And, let them know that that's not going to be tolerated. So when it comes to the general public, where do you draw the line with that? When it comes to dealing with um, people that you're not really familiar with, people that you may not know, do you have a different tolerance level in dealing with them as opposed to someone that you already know? I would think so, because when you think about it, someone that knows you and they're accustomed to um, dealing or having an interaction with you, they know, there's some limits, some lines that have already been set, some boundaries that have already been set, where they know, like, no, you don't want to go there. So we keep it in a very professional or cordial manner. But as opposed to someone in which you don't know, you're out in the general public, then you have to, have a little more leniency, so to speak, because they're not familiar with your standards, your moral values, and the things that you're willing to accept. So you have to let them know and listen, we're not, standing for that. So I'm going to give you some space here. So as long as they don't cross those boundaries, then things can be worked out. But you have to put some things, some boundaries in place to make it known that some things are not acceptable, and then make sure you are being respected in your particular space. All right. So, what are some of the lines of conversations that will not be tolerated within your company? Um, when it comes to setting boundaries, and initially when you start off in a relationship with someone, so say for instance your significant other, did you set those boundaries, those rules and guidelines in the beginning phases of the relationship, or did they come about as time went on, and then as certain situations arise, then you discuss those certain and different things in which you say, all right, well, nah, I don't agree or want to deal with that type of issue, so let's try to move away from that. So those are just some things we have to think about and we want to discuss here in this discussion on where do you draw the line. All right, so just put in the chat there any situations in which you may have had to deal with and you wanted to shed a little light or share an experience that you may have had and where you had to set that boundary or set that line and say that no, we're not going to go into that. We're not going to cross those barriers. Those are not something that I want to indulge in. So when it came to your personal relationships, what are some things that um, you some boundaries you had to set when it comes to your personal relationships? Was it a certain time before you can really be intimate with one another? Was it boundaries as far as um, I need a certain amount of time and space to myself? Was it a certain boundaries as to when you can call or come by the person's residence? What were some of those things, those boundaries that you had to set when the relationship first started? And when it comes to your kids and your family members, what are some of those boundaries that you had to set? Especially with our kids, there are rules and guidelines that go into every family structure. There has to be guidelines in which the family has to abide by to make sure the family doesn't get deconstructed and move in a manner that is not um, constructive to everyone else going forward and having positive results. So you have to have some rules set in place. There are chores that need to be done. There are time constraints on when family members or the kids need to be in the house. And when it comes to a point where the kid is saying that, they don't want to abide by those rules, then that's when you have to set that guideline and say, well, if you're not going to be able to abide by these rules, then you're going to have to find your own place, and then you can live under your own rules. But as long as you're living under the authority and the presence of your parents, you have to abide by their rules, their boundaries in which they have set. And also, when we look into the workspace, a lot of times, you know, um, like we were talking earlier about people getting in a position of power, they feel entitled and they feel like they can speak to you any type of way or just make inappropriate actions or gestures that may be offensive towards others. But when they get into a position of power, that's when that character comes into play. And then you're going to have to check them on that, and let them know that, hey, that's not going to be tolerated. That's not going to fly. You know, we have to treat people with respect and make sure we are not doing anything that is going to be offensive or disrespectful towards them. And, in the event that it does happen, then that conversation needs to be had. You need to pull them over to the side and let them know. Say, listen, I didn't like how you did this or what you said to me in this respect. And I would appreciate it if that doesn't happen again. You be cordial about it, be respectful, but you have to let it be known. You have to draw that line, make those boundaries be set, be heard, so they know that, if they continue to cross that line, then there's going to be consequences for their actions. But if you do not speak on it, then they're going to continue to keep on doing it. So it's up to us as our own individuals to speak on things in which we are uncomfortable with and make sure we are setting those boundaries and we are setting that line for them not to cross. So what are some of your occurrences or experiences that you have had to go through in life, is either in the workplace, with different family members and the general public, whatever the case may be. What are some experiences in which you have had and where you had to draw the line and let someone else know that, no, that's not going to be tolerated. So we're going to have to get back in line and, do the right thing. So yeah, we just want to make sure that everything is in its proper place, and we make sure that we are letting our voice be heard. So what are some of the triggers that can cause us to get to that place where we might get out of character? So some of those triggers could be physical abuse, verbal abuse, not respecting the rules and the boundaries, like I mentioned previously, when it comes to the kids not wanting to abide by the rules of the curfew of when they're supposed to be in the house or whatever the case may be. Not working in unison, not working together. You want to work as an individual, so not working together. So that is something that has to be addressed. We can always get much further along in life when we're working together as one. But as long as we're working as a bunch of individuals, we're like moving in the opposite directions. Little progress is going to be made. It's like you're fighting against one another. Come together, work together as one. So another trigger is some people are unable to handle the truth. They're unable or not willing to accept correction. They get very defensive. These are just some of the things that are triggers that you have to draw the line and say, well, come on, we can work around this situation, but there has to be some type of compromise, right? Another trigger is lying, cheating, backbiting, and bearing false witness. Having that sense of entitlement, like feeling the world or someone owes you something. No, it doesn't work like that. We are all our own individual. No one owes us anything. So we have to work for everything in which we get and make sure that we're not taking others for granted just because we feel as if the world owes us something. Mm-mm. Doesn't work that way, right? So yeah, those are the things that I wanted to share with you when it comes to drawing the line. So I don't see any comments from you guys. I would love to hear your feedback and tell me what you think or share your past experiences when it comes to some things that led you to come out of character or act a way in which was not a true representation of who you are. But, things happen. So that's why we're having this discussion this evening. And we want to make sure that in the event that it does happen, you address that situation and nip it in the bud. Don't let it carry on and persist until it comes something bigger than what it needs to be. Just have that conversation and let it be known, respectfully. You didn't appreciate what was said or what was done, and then, make a resolution to correct those things in going forward. Right? All right. So, yes, that is pretty much it for this part of the discussion for today. And I just want to share one more thing with you before we close off for this evening. Now, so as many of you may have heard, this Saturday, April the 5th, is going to be a lot of protests going on here in the United States surrounding what is going on in the White House. So there's supposed to be a 1 million man march going to Washington, D.C., and other protests throughout different states here to protest what's going on. And the protest is entitled Hands Off. So I was planning to be one to go out and protest, but the word came down, and the word said,
1 million people are going to march in the United States on April 5th. 1 million people.
Sit your black ass down.
did you get that? Yeah, so family, my skin folk, we are sitting this one out. The word has gone out. We tried to do everything within our power. We tried to tell folks about what was going to happen if this man got into office. Sure enough, he did. They didn't listen. And so now, unfortunately, we all have to share in the pain of what's going on and what shall transpire as these things continue and start to manifest themselves even more. So the Saturday they're going to be doing the march, but our people we're standing down. We're taking a back seat on this one, because we're tired. Um, like the generations before us, they did all the marching, the protests, civil rights laws, and the one thing that I will say, that I am encouraged about, we are better equipped. We are using greater strategies and not just reacting off of emotions and getting involved with certain things. So that is the main reason why we are not being a part of these protests. Because when it comes to fighting for equal rights and the equality of others, it always comes to a place where when these laws are put into place, yes, they do serve us, they do help us, but other races, other nationalities benefit from it even more than we do. And when we tried to tell these individuals not to put this man in office, they ignored the word. They just wanted to do what they thought was in their best interests. And now come to find out, it is affecting them as well. So that's why we're saying, no, we're sitting this one out, because we already tried to do our part. You didn't want to cooperate. You didn't want to listen. So now you're going to take on this battle for yourself, and may the chips fall where they may, because we understand that, if we go out and protest, he can put martial law into effect, and then the military can come out and do harm into our people. And that's the last thing that we want to do. And we're not going to allow ourselves to be put in that situation. So that is the main reason why we are sitting this one out. So I want to encourage you. Yeah, I wouldn't suggest that you go out there yourself, because there might be some violence involved, and what they're trying to do, it could be a very dark situation, and I don't want to see any harm come to anyone. So, we have to be wise in what we're doing and, just take the proper measures. All right. So we have a couple of people coming back on. I have my nephew. Blessings, Antonio. Good to see you. And we also have Christine. Oh, good evening, sis. All right. So, yes, she's caught in the rain. She has some freezing rain there in Toronto. So, unfortunately, she will not be able to join us this evening. But good for you. Thank you so much for checking in, Christine. And we will see you next week for the next edition of What's Holding You Back. So, family, all right, thank you so much for joining us this evening for another edition of What's Holding You Back. And be sure to tune in next week, next Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time for another edition of What's Holding You Back. And if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channels, please go ahead and do so. Christine's YouTube channel is Clear Ambitions, and my YouTube channel is Rob McCray Networking. So once again, thank you all for watching, and we look forward to seeing you next week on the next edition of What's Holding You Back.
Fly like an eagle and go high. But what's holding you back? Holding you back from touching the sky. Oh, holding you back. You finally gotta reach for the sky. I was born to succeed, not to be a spoken the real. Told myself there's more to this than just waking up when I feel. So I made a commitment to turn my earnings up. Couldn't see myself as an employee that still couldn't. Looked in the mirror, saw a spark in my eye. Knew I had to hustle and stop living a lie. I packed my dreams in a suitcase, took the first train. I'm headed for the horizon with